I call him the general. He's a general. He's a great general. He's so great that he's actually a field marshal, a step above. And they're all very happy. The whole Middle East is happy, and long beyond the Middle East, the Strait will open as soon as we have it signed.
I have two very, very important people in my life, an Indian and a Pakistani. The Indian is my wife, and the Pakistani is Field Marshal Munir. And I've probably talked to Field Marshal Munir more than I've talked to anybody else over the last 3 months.
Days after a sneaky visit to Tehran by a top military leader, Donald Trump says the mines are gone. The US Navy, according to the American president, has cleared the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump has a warning for Iran. Lay new mines and the vessels responsible will be destroyed. But here is the question that makes this story far more intriguing. If Washington is so firmly in control of waters, if Trump believes the US has cleared the mines, and if America has the military muscle deployed across the region, then why is Trump turning Pakistan's so-called powerful field marshal Asim Munir to carry a message to Tehran? Is Pakistan now Washington's unexpected back channel to Iran? Or does the very need for mediation reveals that military power alone has failed to break the Hormuz deadlock? And this is where the story takes a dramatic turn. Because Asim Munir did go to Tehran. He did carry Pakistan's mediation push. He did meet Iran's top leadership. But did Tehran actually buy what he was selling? That is the big question. Because while Pakistan publicly projected optimism and spoke of progress, the reports emerging from the region suggest Munir's mediation push may have run into serious resistance. The proposed American formula was simple: reopen the Strait of Hormuz, ensure freedom of navigation, help stop attacks by Iranian-aligned groups, and in return, Washington could consider easing pressure on Tehran, including maritime restrictions and economic sanctions. But Tehran's response was far more from a simple yes. Iran pushed back, and it seemed Pakistan has been humbled again. Iranian leaders made it clear that Washington could not expect Tehran to simply accept an American-designed formula. The message from Tehran was essentially this: first, America must change its behavior. First, Washington must honor its commitments. And first, Iran needs proof, not promises. That is where Munir's mission appears to have hit a wall. Reports suggest Pakistan came to Tehran hoping to reopen a diplomatic door between Washington and Iran. But Tehran was not prepared to simply become a receiver of Trump's demands. Instead, Iran turned the pressure right back on Washington. Iranian leaders accused the US of failing to honor previous commitments. They pointed to collapse of earlier understandings, and they made it clear that distrust of Washington remains one of the biggest obstacles to any deal. This is crucial because Munir was not just visiting Tehran as a neighbor. He was arriving days after speaking with Donald Trump, one can say as Trump's man. In fact, in recent months, visually it appears that Munir caters to Trump's far more than Sharif, the so-called elected prime minister, and that gave the Pakistani military leaders' visit a far bigger geopolitical meaning. Was he carrying a message as a mediator, or was he carrying Trump's message? For Tehran, that distinction matters, and reports claiming that Munir's mediation push struggled to gain traction raise an even bigger question. Did Iran see Pakistan as an honest mediator, or as a messenger sent to deliver American pressure? That is where the entire diplomacy game becomes complicated. Trump respects power, or so he claims. So we misunderstood that Asim Munir has shared close ties with the IRGC, Rawalpindi, the military headquarters, and Islamabad, the civilian government headquarters, rarely see eye to eye in Pakistan. However, given Munir's newfound powers, he probably has pitched himself to Trump in a certain way. Now let's go back to where the story began. Trump says the mines are gone. Trump says the US Navy has acted. Trump warns Iran against laying new mines. Trump projects strengths, control, and military dominance. But if Washington has all the military power, why the need for Asim Munir? Why send Pakistan into the middle? The answer may be simple. Military power can clear mines, but it cannot automatically clear mistrust. Warships can patrol Hormuz, but they cannot force Tehran to trust Washington. And they can't force the IRGC to stop launching rockets. And that is exactly why Pakistan suddenly became important. The US and Iran remain deeply divided. Directly, diplomacy is politically difficult. Trust is almost non-existent. And Pakistan has tried to position itself as a channel between the two sides. But that role comes with a huge risk. The moment Tehran believes Pakistan is speaking more for Washington than for fairness, the mediator can become a part of the problem. At the center of this confrontation is the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important energy routes, the passage connecting the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman, and a lifeline for global oil and gas supplies. The closure and disruption around Hormuz have already sent shockwaves through global markets. Oil prices continue to swing. Shipping remains under pressure, and the war has suddenly become everyone's economic problem. For Washington, reopening Hormuz, which was already open before the war, is a strategic priority. For Iran, Hormuz is leverage, and Tehran is not ready to surrender that leverage without extracting something significant in return. Iran's position is clear: no deal under coercion. Iran's position is clear: no agreement based only on American demands. No trust without concrete action from Washington. That means Trump may have military muscle, but Tehran is still a bargaining card. And that card is Hormuz. And this leaves Pakistan in a very uncomfortable position. Islamabad wants to be seen as a peacemaker, a country capable of talking to Washington and Tehran, a country that can open doors where others cannot. But mediation is only successful if both sides trust the messenger. And that is the challenge for Asim Munir. He had spoken to Trump, then he traveled to Tehran. The timing made his mission impossible to ignore, but it also made Pakistan vulnerable to suspicion. If Tehran believes Munir came carrying an American script, Pakistan's balancing act becomes much harder. And if the mediation effort fails, Islamabad risks looking like a messenger who could deliver a proposal but could not deliver a breakthrough. That is why reports about the Tehran trip are now potentially important. Was the visit a breakthrough or just a conversation? Or did Iran's pushback expose the limits of Pakistan's influence? And that brings us back to Trump. The US president says the mines are gone. He says any new attempt to mine the waterway will face immediate destruction. But even if the military threat has been addressed, the political crisis remains. Because the real obstacle is not just under the water, it is above it. Distrust, sanctions, military threats, broken agreements, and two sides who believe the others cannot be trusted. Trump wants Hormuz reopened, Iran wants Washington to change course, and Pakistan wants to be the bridge. But bridges only work when both sides are willing to cross. And right now, Tehran appears unwilling to move on Washington's terms. So, the big story is not just about mines in the Strait of Hormuz. It is about a diplomatic mission that has raised more questions than answers. Trump says America has control, but Washington still needs a messenger. Asim Munir went to Tehran, but Tehran pushed back against the pressure and questioned Washington's credibility. And now, Pakistan finds itself stuck between a US president demanding results and an Iran that refuses to bend. The mines may be gone, but the deadlock, it is very much alive. And Asim Munir's Tehran mission may have just shown the world one uncomfortable truth. America can dominate the waters of Hormuz, but it still cannot dictate the politics of Tehran. Well, that's a wrap from my side. Thank you so much for watching. I am Muskan, signing off for Times Now Digital. Until next time, take care and keep watching this space for more such videos.